it's Greg with Care Boost Health. I'm here with Sarah.
Hello.
And we're just going to be doing a little companion video. We had a workshop yesterday, building a daily yoga practice at home. It went really well. Thanks to everybody who came out. So we're putting this video online today. It's a recap of the basic poses. So if you're at the workshop yesterday and you want to look back to refresh yourself on the poses, or if you weren't able to make it but you're still interested, so here we are, and this is that. Yoga is a little bit difficult on video, so bear with us. We might have to adjust the camera here and there, but here we go. So what should we get, what's some basic poses that we want to work into our daily practice, Sarah?
So we're going to go through one breathing exercise that I think is really good to start with the practice, and then we'll go into the 6 motions of warming up the spine, and then sun sals, which are really important, and then maybe a warrior sequence, and then just bridge and the ending shavasana that we have that everyone looks forward to. So we'll start in a seated position, which is how I usually start in class. So just cross-legged, maybe sitting up on a block or a pillow.
Okay.
There we go.
That's a little better.
Yeah.
So for a floor pose.
Yes, so Greg is going to sit on the edge of the block so that his knees are a little closer to the ground. It just kind of opens the hips ahead of time, and he can place his hands on his knees and maybe close his eyes. And we want to start with a breathing exercise just to kind of ground ourselves before the practice starts, and to practice feeling the breath throughout our entire body. So an exercise that I really like is to place one hand on the belly and one hand over the heart. And you're going to breathe really deeply into your stomach and breathe into that bottom palm, and then you're going to send the breath up into the top of your chest and into the top palm.
Yeah,
and then you exhale from the top down. Yeah, so you can really, it helps with the palms as a guideline. You have somewhere to kind of press your body and press the air into. And it practices breathing throughout your entire body, because we don't just want to breathe into our chest, we want to breathe mostly into our stomach. And if you can hear Greg, he's breathing very deeply. And it's that there's like a constricted breath that we use throughout yoga. It's kind of like if you were fogging a mirror up with your mouth closed. It's that like back of the throat constriction. You hear it in your ears, and it's this wave-like sound. And you want to keep that typically throughout the entire practice. And that'll keep you grounded. It kind of keeps the breath as the loudest thing that you can hear, and that really keeps you in the present moment and in your body. So you can do that.
It takes a little bit of, the hands are really important, because it's easier to do on the in-breath
than
the
to
out-breath.
exhale. It's hard to not just let it all go. Yeah, so it's good. On the exhales, you can kind of press the palms gently into the body and kind of feel like you're directing the breath a little more downward.
On the out-breath, I'm kind of clenching my hands, like right here, it helps.
And as you inhale, you feel that belly expand out, kind of like you're over-exaggerating that push. And on the inhale, the belly almost squeezes like against the spine. You really want to suck the air in and up into your ribs. So typically you want to do that breathing for maybe 5 or 6 minutes, maybe 10 minutes if you can sit still. And just working up each day will allow you, it's more difficult than it looks to sit here still for that long. And if this is uncomfortable, if your knees are up by your shoulders, you can always just place blocks under your knees and make up that space. So after the breathing exercise is done, you want to make sure that you warm up the spine in the 6 directions. So it's forward, back, side to side, and twist on each side. So a really easy way to get all 6 of those directions is just to sit tall and maybe come off the block if you want. And you just inhale the arms up and over. And you're just going to exhale maybe the right fingertips to the ground and stretch the left fingertips over you. And just reach the fingertips towards the opposite side and make sure that you're plugging down that opposite hip so it doesn't start to come off the mat. And you'll feel a really nice side stretch up through your ribs.
And just to this I'm off the mat. Here, I'm on the mat.
Yeah. Yeah, so you also, you don't want to lean and jump to the side. You really want to plug that hip down. Yeah. Then you can inhale both of the arms back up to center and exhale, drop the left fingertips to the ground and even out. And do the other side. And here, to get a little deeper on each inhale, you can kind of stretch the fingertips a little further and stretch more through the side of the ribs. And on the exhale, maybe bend that hand down a little further and just fold a little deeper. We use our breath a lot of the time to get a lot deeper. So on the exhales, you can kind of breathe into that side rib and make it an even deeper side stretch. And then you can inhale the arms back to center. And to come into the twists, you'll just bring opposite hand to the knee, so maybe right fingertips to the left knee with the left fingertips behind you. And you inhale to lengthen the spine and relax the shoulders back. And on an exhale, you twist. And again, here you're squeezing that stomach against the spine to really get that lift, because the more air we release from our body, the more we can twist. And it's not important to look behind you here, because the twist is happening in the center of your back and not really in your neck. So you don't need to strain the top of the spine. And on an inhale, you can come back to center and bring the arms up and over. And then even out, twisting to the other side. And making sure that you're keeping the shoulders over the hips here and you're not leaning back or forward too much. Inhaling to lengthen and relaxing the shoulders and exhaling to twist. And then you can inhale back to center and arms come up. And you can fold forward here, just bringing the hands to the mat or the floor in front of you. And just feeling the stretch along the lower back.
You should get see a little better.
Yeah, so you're just reaching forward. And you're trying to release the back of the neck, because usually we realize that we're looking up and we're keeping the back of the neck alert and a little tense. So you're just trying to relax as much as you can. And
Sarah, a lot of times when I'm in a yoga class, I am trying to look up to see the instructor.
Yeah.
Ideally, where do I want my head here?
Ideally, you want your head completely relaxed. It's difficult for some people to drop their neck like that. It can feel like a bit much. But you do want to be looking down and kind of stretching maybe the crown of your head down and forward, because you're getting a stretch along your spine as well as the back of your neck here. And when we are folding forward especially and looking up, it creates a lot of tension buildup along the shoulders. So from here, for the last kind of fold and the last spine stretch, Greg can come forward into tabletop. You can come horizontal on the mat. And so he's going to be in tabletop, which just means that his hips are going to be over his knees, and his feet are going to be hips distance apart, with the top of his feet pressing into the mat, and his shoulders are stacking over elbows and over wrists. And from here, he's on an inhale, he's going to drop his belly and roll the shoulders back and look up and arch the back. And on the exhale, he's going to press through the hands, arch the back up and look through the thighs. And then again, he'll inhale and drop the belly and look up, rolling the shoulders back. And exhaling to round the spine and press through the hands and look back through the thighs. This is really amazing in the morning. Really amazing in the morning. It will instantly wake you up if you do this before you even get out of bed. It feels really good to just stretch the spine like this. So that's kind of the 6 motions of twisting from side to side and back and forth, and then this motion of that wave through your spine. So once we've warmed up the 6 motions, which is really important to keep the spine healthy, a really important series is the sun salves. So Greg can come to standing at the top of his mat. Maybe to just stand.
be standing for a bit?
Yeah. Most of it will be standing from here.
Looks good.
Okay, so Greg will, the sun sails are a series of 12 movements that link with the breath, and they're really good for heating the body. And they're really good for stretching the spine. So you start at the top of your mat, facing the top one way or another. You just start into Tadasana with your feet hips distance apart and your arms out by your side.
For Tadasana, I'm just gonna show. It's just like this.
Yeah. So you're standing really tall. You don't want to have too much of an arch in your back, so you want to really lengthen through the hips and look up, relaxing the shoulders. And then from here, the first motion of the sun cell starts on an inhale. So he'll inhale his arms up and over and reach his palms towards the ceiling.
Just like this.
Yeah.
Normally I'm just standing, but here's what's going on with the hands.
Yeah, he's just reaching up, and maybe bring your gaze just behind the thumbs, and you'll get a small back bend. And then you'll exhale and forward fold, hinging from the hips.
I'm just gonna turn a little bit so you can see that. So up here, and then exhale.
Yes, on an exhale with a flat spine, really hinging from the hips here.
Now Sarah's gonna keep an eye on my spine, because I'm newer to this, and my spine sometimes goes into a curve,
Yeah.
like that.
Mm-hmm.
She has this really good tip with the block. You wanna
Yeah,
go through
yeah.
that one?
So you can hold anything, it doesn't have to be a block, but you extend the block face height, and you just pull the block a little closer. It doesn't move very far, you're just pulling it towards your face, and you feel your shoulders plug back. And then Greg will keep that length, and he's gonna fold from here, continuously pulling that block, and you see how straight his back stays. And that's really good. And then as soon as he starts to feel that round, wherever he feels that, he'll just drop the blocks to the mat, and that's his forward fold. So it's really important. It's more important, I would say, to keep the back straight, and you can have a small bend in the knees. And then from here, on an inhale, he'll come up halfway and bring the hands to his shins, and just pull the torso forward so that his back comes parallel, and he'll just use that motion to plug the shoulders back and keep that length. And he'll fold forward from here a little deeper, bringing his hands to the blocks or to the mat.
Really just kind of rolling my abdomen onto the tops of my thighs, bit by bit.
Yeah, and it's good if you can find that resting position. You can kind of keep that, your stomach resting, and just slowly maybe try and straighten your legs. And then after your forward fold, you're gonna plant the palms on the mat and step back to plank.
So I gotta do a little camera magic here. Normally you wouldn't shuffle around like this, but thank you.
Yeah, so he's gonna plant the palms and he'll step back to plank. So in plank, he has a straight line from the crown of his head down his spine to his heels. And maybe the modification, because this is very difficult for some people, is he's gonna drop his knees slightly behind his hips and untuck his toes. And he's gonna lower down with the elbows pressing against his ribs and moving back until about that point. And then he's gonna drop the hips and roll the shoulders back for Cobra, keeping the elbows bent. So that transition is that flow that you're gonna see in a lot of classes of lowering down and inhaling up to a back bend. And then from here, he's gonna tuck his toes and press through his hands and lead with his hips, maybe coming through tabletop and pressing back into down dog.
And I just want to add that plank, that's a transition. A lot of times when we teach that pose, people talk about how hard it is. You usually wouldn't spend this much time with it.
Yeah,
You're
it
just
is.
kind of moving through.
It's a flow. It's definitely a flow.
Like that's a pretty decent pace for that.
Yeah, it happens quickly, and it happens with your breath. So you're inhaling forward to plank, exhaling to lower down, inhaling to your back bend, and then exhaling back to downward facing dog. And in down dog, I'll just keep Greg here for a moment to show the adjustment, as we'll just bend the knees to hover them a few inches above the mat, and you'll press the stomach against the thighs as much as you can. And you see his back start to straighten. and he'll keep that length and straighten his legs maybe a little, and he'll keep that length in his shoulders with that adjustment, and then he'll look to the front of the mat and just start to walk his feet between his hands, coming into his forward fold at the top of the mat. And then he'll inhale up halfway, bringing the hands to the shins, finding that flat back, and keeping that length. Exhale to fold forward again, bringing the hands to the mat or to blocks. And a really good spot for the blocks is just at the top of the mat, like hips distance apart, and they're kind of always going to be accessible as you come through it. You won't have to move them on and off the mat.
And I'm a newer yoga student, and I spend a lot of time working at a desk too, so those blocks are a real helpful aid to me. If you spend a lot of time at a desk, I really recommend that you pick up some blocks for your practice at home too.
Yeah, it's really, they're not a cheat. Props are not a cheat in yoga. They add length and get you much, much deeper into the pose. So they're very beneficial and they're not expensive. So from here, he'll hinge from the hips and bring the arms out and up. And reach his palms again towards the ceiling, maybe looking slightly past his thumbs for that back bend, and he'll just exhale his hands to heart center. So that is one round of sun cells.
Would you like to run them through a full round with the expertise you have to see what it looks like without the stop and stops?
Yeah,
That's
we
great.
can go through it fluidly. So we'll stand.
Just gonna see if we can get you a better. What are we doing here? Yeah. That's good. All right.
Yeah, that looks good.
Okay. So, yeah, I'll go through them quickly just with the breath. So you stand at the top of your mat. You can have your blocks in front of you. And you'll inhale, the arms come up and over, reaching the palms up to the sky, and with a flat back, folding forward, and keeping that spine long, and placing the palms on the mat or to blocks, and then inhale up halfway, either to fingertips or to your shins, just to get that flat back, push the shoulders back, and exhale to fold. And plant the palms and step back to plank. So option to drop the knees here. And what that'll look like is just lowering down until your shoulders are parallel with your elbows, dropping the hips and rolling the shoulders back. You can also come through high plank, which high plank is about here with the shoulders stacking over the wrists, and you rock forward to your toes and come to that same point. And then tuck the toes and press up to up dog. And then tucking the toes, pressing through the hands and leading with the hips, down dog. And then you can walk or maybe float your feet to the front of the mat. Forward folding, inhaling up halfway, and folding again before inhaling the arms up and over. And exhale, hands to heart center. So that's what one will look like. I also just posted a video on our Instagram of the two different types of sun cells, a little slower. So the one other thing that I think is really important is the warriors. So that is just, it's a sequence, it's called Dancing Warrior sometimes. And you're gonna stand kind of wide leg. And you're gonna have your whichever toes facing forward with the back toes parallel to the back of the mat.
Do you want them up?
Do you want to do this?
Sure.
So his back foot is going to be parallel to the edge of the mat.
Just to make, it's going to kind of look, if you use my hands, this is my feet.
Yeah. So we'll have one foot parallel to the back of the mat and one toes facing forward, and you're lining up the heel of your front foot to the center of the arch of your back foot, and that's your alignment. And then you can kind of decide how wide you need to go to bend into that front knee.
Now you were saying the other day, sometimes there's a tendency to kind of go too far this way, when really it's better
so you want to
widen a
make
little
sure
bit.
that your knee isn't going over your toes and it's staying over your ankle. And you want to make sure that your shoulders are over your hips. Sometimes people have a tendency to lean forward or back. So you want to keep everything centered and stacked with the hips opening up to the side and the arms come up and the gaze is over the third fingertips. You want to make sure that the knee of the front foot is tracking kind of diagonal onto the mat. And we just use diagonal because usually that gets it straight because we have a tendency to sink our knees in. So this is Warrior 2. This is a really good hip opener. You'll see this in most classes. And from here, there's a sequence called Dancing Warrior. So Greg is going to keep everything below the hips completely still. He wants to keep that bend really deep in his knee, and he'll flip the front palm and press back to Reverse Warrior for a small back bend, maybe bring that hand down the thigh. Yeah. So that's good that he chose that variation because typically people will kind of sink all of the weight into that, and you really want to make sure that your back is doing this stretch and you can still pick up that back hand and it doesn't feel like it's glued there. So this is a nice side opener. And then he can float back into Warrior 2. And then from here he can exhale that elbow to his knee and bring this arm into a T. And again, he really wants to make sure that he can pick up that elbow, which can be very difficult. So if you feel like it's cemented there, you want to press more into the outer edge of the back foot, and that'll equal out a lot of the weight.
Yeah, when I first started this pose, there's a tendency to just lean on my leg
Yeah,
as a counter. You know, so
yeah.
keep your weight. So I'm gonna do my arm right here.
Yeah, so he can use his arm like this if this is comfortable for him, and he wants a bigger side stretch. You can even extend those fingertips over the ear and maybe reach forward, and this is side angle pose.
Sorry, what am I doing with my head here?
The pose, there's a few options. If you need a more grounding pose, if you feel like your balance needs more grounding, you can look at the ground. But if your neck allows, it can be a really nice neck stretch and back bend to look up at the ceiling.
So this is the more challenging.
Yeah, it's always a little more challenging to not have your eyes on the ground, which keeps our balance. So we can float back up into Warrior 2 then. So that sequence is just the reverse to side angle, and it's just a nice side stretch as you open the hips.
You know, and one thing Sarah's always telling me is that you listen to your body. We've been teaching this, so I've been in this position for a really long time. So I'm going to just take a little break to stretch it out because that's what my body's telling me for my practice.
Yes, very good. Yeah, it's really, the poses really you can't tell what they look like from the outside because they're all trying to do something. They're not trying to look a certain way. I always tell people who are folding, you're not trying to touch your toes at all. You're just trying to stretch your back. So that looks different for everyone. So that's the Warrior 2 sequence of Reverse Warrior and then back to Warrior 2 and then to side angle. And it's a nice, easy flow, and it practices that body awareness of really keeping the lower body still like Greg has been doing. So after, I think the Warrior 2 and the Sun Sal's are really the important ones. We can go into like one balance and one inversion, and then that's kind of your good home practice. So the easiest balance is just tree, which is just sinking into one leg, and then you can bring the toes either to kickstand with your toes on the ground if you need that balance, or you can bring the foot to the shin. You can bring it to the top of the leg. We just don't want it over the knee because we don't want to be pressing on the joint that way. So then you even out to do both sides, maybe hands at heart center, maybe up and out. And then from there, usually you just end in an inversion if you want to model bridge for me. So he's going to lie on his back with his feet flat on the floor, knees bent, and his arms will be alongside him. And a good adjustment, I think, is to put a block in between your knees because people have a tendency to splay the knees out.
Can you just, I don't think it gets in. This is one of my favorite poses because sometimes my lower back gets a little tired over the course of the day. And this pose is very soothing for that.
Yeah, this is really, really good for the lower back. So he's going to squeeze the blocks, which will keep his knees in line, and with his arms alongside him, he'll press his hips up and maybe roll onto his shoulders. Maybe you clasp the hands underneath the sacrum if you want a much bigger heart opener. And And here people have a tendency to kind of squeeze through their butt to lift them up, but you want to release that and really push through the thighs and push through the knees, and you'll get that lift. So this is a good inversion to take at the end of class. And then he can lower down here. And the last pose that we do in every class, you can remove the block, is just to extend the arms and legs out long on the mat, and that's your Shavasana. I think even if you're doing a practice at home, it's really important to end with at least 8 or 9 minutes like this. And it's important that you're comfortable however you are, with arms and palms facing up or down. You can bend your knees slightly. For me, this is a lot on my back and I can't really lie flat, so I put a bolster or a rolled up mat under your knees, and that'll keep that lift. You just want to make sure that you're comfortable as possible and don't feel like you're straining anything. And this is a really nice way to ground and end your home practice. I'm sure Greg could lay like this all day. Yeah, so that's kind of the basics. It's the 6 motions of the spine, the breathing, sun cells, the warriors, maybe a balance, and then a small inversion, and just remembering to always ground at the end of your practice. Yeah.
Thanks very much, Sarah. I hope you guys
for
enjoyed.
modeling.
Absolutely. I hope you guys enjoyed our live stream. This is our basic intro to home yoga. If you're interested in joining us for a yoga class, we have classes Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. Do morning classes around 9:30 and evening classes between 6 and 7. Come check us out at www.careboost.com. I'll put a link in the comments below, and we hope to see you for a class sometime soon. Thanks so
Thank
much.
you.